Okay.
Let me find myself a dry chair. Did it rain over there today?
No, nothing.
Last night it poured.
Last night,
Rain
nothing
here,
today.
if I tell you, it's one big pile of mud here. It's unbelievable.
Last night it poured here. Changed the whole weather. It went down a good 10-15 degrees.
Did that here too, the rain. Hold on, let me get my towel. Hold on, I'll be back. I guess everybody's talked down, huh? Or not talked down.
Nah, now we gotta wait in a waiting room.
Oh, it's still doing that waiting room shtick?
Yeah, it was only a couple of seconds, but it was still there.
Okay, I hope everybody's fast was all right. Okay, we ready? Where'd we leave off? On the top of the Amud, right? What's
We're on Yud Amud Beis, no? Top of Yud Amud Beis?
Yud Amud Beis, right? Today's Yud Aleph and the Yud Amud Beis, yeah.
So Yaakov, the only thing with the Koisel cam, which I use, Mashiach didn't come, 7 when they daven Ma'ariv tonight, that's it,
I hear. You mean that you're done for the 7 hours? Maybe,
Yeah,
how do you
it's
know?
like
Maybe in Chutz La'aretz.
Yeah,
Maybe in Chutz La'aretz, Mashiach.
He's not coming.
Mashiach.
He's not coming Chutz La'aretz. Come on.
You sure?
Yeah.
I hear. Okay. I guess we could hold out for at least that hope. Well, I had a guy on the text today that told me to go to hell. So, because I didn't want to tell him
who he is and where he lives, and we'll take care of it.
I actually had 3 people this afternoon that gave me such attitude. You can't even believe it. So
Really?
this guy,
Yeah. The good news is that they won't ask you again.
that's exactly what I told the guy. I told one guy, he says, well, you don't know the reason? I said, no, I don't have to explain to you the reason why you shouldn't do it. So he says, oh, you're just a scam. I said, you're 100% right. I am a scam. Why are you asking somebody who you don't ask? You have smicha? I said, why are you asking somebody a shaila if you have no idea who he is? Isn't that irresponsible? And I said, besides the fact, he texts. Right? It was a little bit of too much entertainment on Tisha B'Av afternoon. I'm sorry to say, but it was whatever. It was yeah. I said,
I got cut off. What did you say?
I just told the guy that I'm a scam. He says, so you're a scam. You don't know. I said, that's right. I'm a scam. Please tell everybody you know not to text me because I am a scam. Whatever. Anyway.
I can watch that. I hope that article doesn't make it to the 5,000 cents.
What was his Shiloh? What do you want to know?
Vaping. He wants to know about vaping. What do you think?
Oh, great.
Wait, so you said you can't vape. You said you can't vape
I
today.
said he cannot vape. Yes.
There you go. That's
Good.
it. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Whatever. Anyways. All right. A little milsa b'dichusa before we yeah. All right. Somebody's on a train?
Dr. Corman, you have to mute.
I
He's
took
muted,
care
he's
of it,
muted.
Liner, Mashkiach. If you want, you're welcome to take over. I can pass it on to you. You can let everybody in who's in the waiting room.
Maybe that's Mashiach coming on a train. Who knows?
Yeah. Okay. So fine. Okay. So we're 2 lines down on tomorrow's daf is short, so we don't have to do a full block and a half tonight if the island runs out of gas. But it's very commendable and nice that the island we're getting together here, Matzi Tisha B'Av. Itma, yeah. It's 2 lines down. Itma, noise sukkah, ain't mayit in the sukkah. So if you have noise sukkah, it's not memayit in the sukkah. Right? Meaning we really had this before, like on what is it, Gimel, that let's say you have a sukkah that's Lamala Michaf Amma, and then the noise sukkah lowers it down. Right, so then it doesn't have any, it has nothing to do with it. And if the schach is above 20, even if the sukkah decorations are lower it than 20, it's still a problem. Minyamin avdei Rav Ashi imtishalei kitunta b'maya. So Minyamin, who was the servant of Rav Ashi, his clothing, his kasainas, his jacket, his shirt, whatever, got soaked in water. Vishtatcha amatalalta, and he spread it out over the sukkah to dry. You know, it's sukkahs, it's nice and hot, and he put it over the outside of the sukkah to dry it up. Amalei Rav Ashi told him, Dalia, take it off. So you shouldn't say that you should be that you're going to be masach with something that's makabel tumah, because clothing is makabel tumah. If somebody's gonna walk by your sukkah and see you have a shirt on top of your sukkah, and they think, oh, that's a great idea, it's cotton, right? Cotton. Again, I'm making that cotton part up, but it's cotton. Maybe it's natural fiber, and I can use it as schach. But you can't, because once it becomes a kli, once it becomes a something that has a function, so then it's no good. You can't.
Maybe he
So
was
it's
trying to help
marasa-
his Rav get less shilas.
maybe, but that might make more shilas. That's all, right? So anyway, so he said, "It's marasayin." Oh, v'akachazile. So he said back to him, "V'akachazile durativ." Anybody walking by is going to see that the shirt is wet. So then they're not going to think I'm using it for schach. They're going to think that I'm using it to dry. So Gemara says, "L'chiyavsha kamin alach." He said, "I meant to tell you when it dries, then you should remove it. Meaning, when it's wet, you don't have to remove it. Nobody's going to think that you're using schach with a wet clothing. But once it dries, you have to remove it." Now, I think l'chayr this has to be on Chol Hamoed, because on Shabbos you're not allowed to. Shabbos Yom Tov, you're not allowed to put out wet clothing, right? Because that's a different marasayan issue, right? That's what I would think. Okay, but either way, itmar nois sukkah hamuflogim mimeno arba. So this is a halacha that a lot of people don't keep, and halacha lemaisa. It's quite interesting.
Wait, Yaakov,
Yes.
you're allowed to put it out to dry in somewhere strange. You put it on top of the schach. That should be mutter.
No, but if that's mutter, so then why would anybody think because that's an abnormal place, you're saying.
Right. That's what he thought. The Avid thought he was saying you can't put it
I
there.
hear what you're saying.
And he timed it. Oh, you can see it's wet. You can see it's dry. And then he says, when it's dry, no problem.
I hear.
I thought Gershon holds 72. How are you allowed to learn now?
He holds 72 for eating and 50 for learning. Yeah.
42 for learning.
I hear. Okay. So itmar noise sukkah muflogim imena arba. So if you have the noise sukkah that's more than 4 tefachim away from the schach, Rav Nachman Omer ksherer, Rav Chisda Rav Huna Amri psula. Rav Nachman says kosher, and Rav Chisda Rav Nachman Rav Huna say it's possible. Rav Chisda Rav Huna iklo lebei Reish Galusa. They travel to the Reish Galusa's house. Agninu Rav Nachman besukkah sheniyah muflogim imena arba tefachim. Rav Nachman is the one who says that the sukkah is kosher. He went and put Rav Chisda into a sukkah that Rav Chisda held was puzzle, because the noise sukkah was hanging more than 4 tefachim off from the schach. Ishtiku, and Rav Nachman didn't tell him anything. Meaning, basically, what happened was, right? Not Rav Nachman. Rav Huna didn't say anything to Rav Nachman to say, "Hey, you put me in a sukkah that's puzzle, according to my opinion."
Mr. Yaakov, excuse me.
Yeah.
You wanted to say something about the noise sukkah before Gershon spoke.
Thank you. I'm going to get to it after the Maisa. Thank you. So Amr so he said to them, did you change your mind? Why are you sleeping in the sukkah? According to you, it's puzzle. Again, Rav Nachman held that schach that's more than 4 tefachim away from the noise sukkah that's more than 4 tefachim away from the schach is kosher. Rav Huna held it's puzzle. Rav Huna was traveling. Rav Nachman put him in a sukkah that the noise sukkah was more than 4 tefachim away.
So you can't bring a riot from that case. Maybe he couldn't. He had too much respect for Nachman. So he
Oh,
didn't
so
want to
that's
argue.
what the Gemara. That's what he's gonna. That well, he doesn't answer that. The Gemara doesn't answer that, but that he didn't entertain that. He would think that he would say that. Oh, I can't sleep in that sukkah. So they thought maybe he changed his mind. I'm relaying, no, I'm not shluchei mitzvah. We're shluchei mitzvah, right? Because they were going up. The Rashi says they were going to be makabel pnei rabbi b'yomtiv. Upeturim in a sukkah, so they were potter from sukkah. But had we been chayiv in a sukkah, we would not have slept in that sukkah because the noise sukkah is more than 4 tefachim from the schach. Yeah. So now, what's the practical? So if you have noise sukkah, which a lot of people do, right? We paskin, by the way, that it's possible if your noise sukkah from the schach is lower than 4 tefachim, which let's go with the most machmashita, that it's 16 inches. If your noise sukkah hangs down more than 16 inches from the schach, then it's possible. You're not allowed to sit under there. You're not allowed to sit under there. Now, if it's thinner than 4 tefachim, so that's no problem. Because that even if you have schach puzzle in the middle of the sukkah up to 4 tefachim, it's fine. But if you have those big, like with basically the chiddush sukkahs, the Rebbe's sukkahs that everybody loves to go to, where they have that stuff hanging down from the ceiling way, way down, seemingly, according to this Gemara, the way we paskin, it's possible. Because it's too low. It's more than 4 tefachim off. However,
when you say noise sukkah,
there's a few coolers. Yeah.
When you say noise sukkah, you mean noise sukkah like decorations, or what about light fixtures? What about light fixtures?
Very good. Very good. Light fixtures also could be an issue. Light fixtures can also be an issue if it hangs down lower than 4 tefachim. So the noise sukkah, if the poskim say that as long as the noise sukkah starts within 4 tefachim, then even if it comes lower, that's fine. Right? As long as it starts within within 4 tefachim of the schach, that's fine. So then the issue becomes those type of noise sukkah that hang down from a string. And then, I don't know what you call those.
Those balls, the big balls.
The balls, right? Like the balls and those nice things.
The foil decorations.
Yeah, all those type of things. So if it hangs from a string, that string l'chayra does not count as starting within 4 tefachim. Right? So one should l'chatchila be careful that the noise sukkah should at least begin within 4 tefachim of the schach. Like this, you don't have a problem. And really, the lights should also. If you can.
L'chatchila is better not to hang anything from the schach.
No,
why are you saying that?
Noise sukkah.
Is that why I'm asking?
You're supposed to have noise sukkah.
Baron, you had a coffee already. 1 second. I'm asking you a shaila.
I'm in the middle of an iced one. That's the first.
Okay. I'm asking you a shaila.
But I had a l'chaim.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, yes.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Turn the l'chaim part. What about hanging salamis? Is that more of a heter or no? If it's edible,
we had that in the daf on Friday, right? Hanging,
Right.
they had parrots.
They used to hang the wine parrots.
They had every type of food except salamis that they were hanging from the schach. Yes, I don't know. So I would think that you should hang a salami. Why not? If that's what you hold is good. You might get animals in your sukkah. But anyways, so the noise sukkah should lichatchila hang within 4 tefachim. It's an important din. If you have those, most people's schach, I don't think is 4, like those chains. So those chains, they're not big enough to be puzzle schach. People that hang the chains all across the sukkah. And also it begins usually within 4 tefachim. But anything that doesn't begin within 4 tefachim could be a problem if it's big enough.
Okay, but again, that's only if you're sitting on there. It doesn't puzzle the sukkah. It's just the area it's underneath.
Well, it could puzzle if it goes all the way across and then you don't have 3 walls. It could puzzle it. Depending on how you sukkah, right? If you have the 3 walls against the house, right? And then you have that thing going diagonally across and it cuts off that wall, it could be a problem. Most of the time, we'll finagle a way to be matter.
But if you have a nice,
but that would only be if it goes.
So you're a scam if that's the case. With finagle, you're a scam.
Right.
You're right.
Yaakov, if you have a nice centerpiece that hangs down all the way to the table from the center, that's an issue?
It's not an issue because you're not sitting on it. That's what Yeshua was
Right.
saying.
Right.
But if it splits up your sukkah, if you don't have a big sukkah and it's very big and it splits up your walls, it could potentially cause a problem. Right? It cuts you off. Okay, so let's see what. Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. Mutalisha bekila b'sukkah. You're allowed to sleep under a kila, right? The kila is like a chuppah in a sukkah. Even though it has a roof on it, but it can't be 10 tefachim high, meaning the canopy bed. That's basically what it is. If the canopy bed is less than 10 tefachim, right, then it's not a problem. Now the question becomes, meaning again, if it's less than 10 tefachim, it's not considered its own bias. If it's more than 10 tefachim, it's considered its own house within your sukkah. Question is, where do you measure the 10 tefachim? From the floor to the canopy, or from the bed to the canopy, right? Rashi says very clear. Rashi says min amita, right? Because if it's less than 10, it's not a sukkah, right?
Say, can you sleep under a table?
Oh, exact same question. Yeah. So if it's less than 10 tefachim, there's no problem. If the table is higher than 10 tefachim, then it's a problem, right? Maybe it's less
really
of a problem
high
because a table is temporary. Could be it's less of a problem. What are you saying, Jesse?
I was about to say 10 tefachim. That's a really high table.
No, it's not.
Well, 30
40
depends.
inches?
Depends. Well, 40 is the chumrah share. You got also 30.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. So it could. But what's interesting, if we look in the Mishna Brura and the Sharatzian seems to be chaylik on Rashi, right? That the 10 tefachim is really from the ground, from the ground. Yes, from the ground, right? So okay, whatever it is, it's a tumul exactly what the din is, where it goes from the ground or from the bed. Okay, so Tashma Ayoshin Bekila B'Sukkah Lo Yotzi Dechavase. If you sleep in a kila in a sukkah, you're not yotze. So we just got finished saying that you would be yotze if it's less than 10 tefachim. So Gemara gives the pasha to answer. We're talking about where it's 10 tefachim high. So since it's 10 tefachim high, it's its own rishus. So then there's no kasha. So if you sleep under a bed in a sukkah, you're not yotze. So again, because it says, and we said you would be yotze. We're talking about a bed that's 10 tefachim high. Okay, so Tashma, right? Our Mishna says if you spread it over a 4-post bed, it's puzzle. We just said it would be kosher. Again, Hasamnami Digbi Yasara. They're talking about where it's 10 tefachim high. So when it's 10 tefachim high, it's going to be puzzle. Lower than 10 tefachim, it's kosher. So Gemara says, Valaikatani Hachi. Right? You have to say it's 10 tefachim high. We say, well, no, that's not true. We're going to show you that it's even without 10 tefachim high. Tanya, naklitin shnayim. When it says naklitin, that means that there's 2 posts, meaning it creates a triangle, a teepee, not a teepee, a teepee, like a triangle, because it's only 2 posts, one in the middle, one at the head of the bed, one at the foot of the bed. The kinaifas arba, and kinaifas is 4. Peter agabi kinaifas psula. If you spread it over a kinaifas, it's puzzle. Agabi naklitin, but if you do it over naklitin, right, that's the 2 posts, then it's kosher. That's as long as the naklitin are not 10 tefachim high. Michlal the kinaifas that's mashma that the kinaifas, even if it's not 10 tefachim high, it's going to be puzzled. So Gemara answers, no, you can't bring rayas from kinaifas. Shani kinaifas the kvi. Kinaifas are set. They're kavua on the bed, meaning this bed has 4 posts. Since the bed has 4 posts and it's kavua and I guess it's screwed in there. So mamela, even if it's less than 10 tefachim, it's a problem.
What's
so what?
What's kinaifas? What is it?
Kinaifas is the 4-cornered bed. Right? Kinaifas is the 4 not corner, 4 bedpost bed. Yeah. So the same way that it's kosher, that's the way it's puzzled. Right? I'm sorry, I skipped 4 lines. Shani Knaivas the Kavua, not 4 lines, 4 words. The Gemara says, Sukkah Gabi Sukkah the Kvi. When you have a sukkah on top of a sukkah, that's kavua. I mean, that's set. You have one sukkah on top of another sukkah. V'amar Shmuel kechsheira kach psula. And Shmuel says the same way that it's kosher is the same way it's puzzled. Right? Remember what Shmuel said? How much, man, we said, was it on Friday or Thursday? I think it was Friday. How much space do you need in between one schach and the other schach in order to consider it sukkah tachas sukkah? So Shmuel said it's 10 tefachim. So he said, kech is kach psula. Right, so you see, it must be talking about 10 tefachim. So when I answer, no, Amri Hasam, the Lemifsal Sukkah Basara. There, we're trying to make the sukkah puzzle with 10. Hacha, the Lashavia Sukkah. Here we're trying to make it into the Lashavia oil. We're trying to make it into oil. Less than 10 is also an oil. Right? So meaning when you're trying to make it a puzzle sukkah, you would need 10 tvachim. When you're trying to make it into an oil, and then whether the oil becomes, meaning if it's an oil, then you're sleeping under a tent, not under schach. Right? So try and make it into oil, then even less than 10 would be considered an oil. Yeah? Okay. So that's that. But basically, the rule is that when it's kavua, then it's as if you're sleeping in its own, you're sleeping in a tent, not in the sukkah. When it's not kavua, then it's considered like it's in the sukkah. Fine. So this is just a offshoot of this last sugi. If somebody's sleeping in a kila, in the, what do we call it, in a canopy, arum, and he's naked, he's allowed to put his head outside of the kila, and it's kosher. The halacha, so the background to this is, the halacha is that when a person is undressed, even if he doesn't see his private parts, he's not allowed to make a bracha. This has nothing to do with gartel. Tosfos points out here that this Gemara is going with the shittas that hold that you don't need for gartel, the heart. The reason why you need a gartel, everybody needs a gartel, but because you have to separate your top from your bottom. Oh, those of us that don't wear a gartel, that's because we have pants. We either have a belt or we have a band on the underwear or a band on the pants. Wherever it is, that separates the heart from the erva. Tosfos says our Gemara is not going with this shita that holds that you need a separation. You don't need a separation, but you have a different din. A person, when he's exposed to his private parts, is not allowed to make a bracha. But if your private parts are in a different rishus than your head, then it would be okay. So the question is this an oil? Right? So if it's not an oil, right? So then we're going to say that his head is in a separate area than his body. But if it's an oil, then we're going to say that his guf is under the oil. Meaning if it's not an oil, so if you stick your head out of it, your head's in one place, your body's in another place. But if it's an oil, then his body is inside a tent and his head, it goes after the body. Meaning we don't separate the head from the body. If you're in a proper rishus, in an oil, a sukkah, a house, whatever it is. But otherwise, we are going to consider it separate. So Gemara is saying that somebody who's sleeping in an oil, in a kila, it's not considered a proper oil, and therefore his head is in one rishus and his body's in another rishus. So he puts his head outside the kila and he reads Kriya Shema. So they ask the kasha, somebody who sleeps in a kila naked, he's not allowed to stick his head out of the tent and read Kriya Shema. Right? So it's a stira, meaning can he stick his head out of his tent if he's naked or not? So my answer is no. So one says yes and one says no. So one says, talking about where one of them is talking about where it's 10 tefachim high. Right? When it's less than 10 tefachim high, so then he's allowed to say Shema. If it's more than 10 tefachim high, he's not allowed to say Shema. So it says, this makes sense. Because we learned in the Sefer, what is this case similar to? Let's say somebody's standing inside his house naked. He's not allowed, if he's standing naked, he's not allowed to stick his head outside of the window to read Kriya Shema. Shema Mina, right? So you see from this that anything that's less than 10 tefachim is not considered a tent. If it's higher than 10 tefachim, it is considered a tent. Ubayas Nami, the Gemara is not considered a proper tent. Yeah? So the Gemara says, but a house is a different thing. A house, even though it's not 10 tefachim high, we're on Talmud Aleph now, keeping the kfir oilu, since it's set house, then that's considered a tent. The loigaram kinufis, because it's no different than a kinufis, which we said before, that when you have a 4-post bed, that the posts are always in there, we said that that's considered its own oil, even if it's less than 10 tefachim, because it's kavua. Yeah, lishna achrina, or a different shot. Amri la, some say like this. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, mutar lisha bekilas chasanim b'sukkah lefi she'ein lagag. Person is allowed to sleep in a kilas chasanim because it doesn't have a roof point and it's only 1 tefach wide at the top. Therefore, it's not considered an oil. Right? Even though it's 10 tefachim high. So Gemara says, somebody who sleeps in a kila in a sukkah, is not yotze. So how come you're saying that in a kilas chasanim you are yotze? We're talking about where it had a roof that was wider than 1 tefach. Tashema. So the Gemara asks, Naklitin Shnayim. Naklitin is 2. The Kinufas Arba, and the Kinufas is Arba. Peter's Agabi Kinufas Psula. If you spread it over the Kinufas, the 4-cornered bed, it's possible. Agabi Naklitin Ksher. If it does on the 2-post bed, it's kosher. As long as the tent cover, but if it's higher than the bed, it's puzzle. Even though it doesn't have a roof. So Gemara answers, Shani Naklitin the kfi. It's the same Gemara as the previous Gemara, just on it from a different angle. So Gemara says Naklitin are different because it's kavua. Ikvi lavi kikinoifis. If it's set, then let it be like kikinoifis, like a 4-post bed. So Gemara says Lagabi kinoifis like kfi. When you compare it to a kinoifis, so then it's not kavua. Lagabi kilo kavi, but when you compare it to a kilo, it is kavua. Right? So basically what comes out is that there's 3 levels of tents on top of a bed. There's a kila, kinoifis, and naklitin. Right? So a kila, which is temporary, right, has to have a tefach wide on the top, right? And it has to be 10 tefachim tall. A kinoifis, which is the 4-post bed, which is totally set, in all scenarios, if you have the cover over the bed, you're not allowed to sleep in the sukkah with it because it's its own rishus. And naklitin, right, are not a problem, even if it's not a tefach wide, but you have to have it at least 10 tefachim tall. Okay, that's the kitzur of the shittus. Okay, Darash, Rab, allowed to sleep in a kila, even though it has a roof, even though it's 10 tefachim high. Right, come on, who's that like? Rabbi Yehuda Damar, they also oil around about the oil keva. A temporary oil doesn't come and separate and be mavatal a permanent oil to Tanan. Because we're going to Mishna Rabbi Yehuda Noyig Hayinu Lishan Tachas Amitu B'fnei Hazakanim. We would sleep in the bed. We would sleep in the bed under. We would sleep in the sukkah under the bed in front of the zakanim, and the zakanim didn't say anything, right? A bed is temporary. Yeah, so therefore you see that a temporary oil will not come and be mevatel, right? So David, this is exactly what you're asking. According to this, you're allowed to sleep under a table because it's temporary. So the Gemara says, okay, fine. Why don't you just say that the halach is like Rabbi Yehuda, right? So Iyamar halach Rabbi Yehuda hava minahani mili mita the lagaba asuya, right? Rabbi, this is mamash we're learning in the morning. Maybe this is hani mili mita because a mita is meant for the top of it. Meaning, when you put out a bed, are you doing it for under the bed or on top of the bed? You're doing it for on top of the bed. So maybe if you sleep under the bed, it's not mevatel. It's like as if you're still in the sukkah. Have a kila, the l'toichasuya emaloi. But if a kila, which is meant for somebody to sleep in it, maybe Rabbi Yehuda would say that you can't sleep in it because maybe that's mevatel the sukkah and it's its own rishus inside the sukkah. Mashmalan, Tamid Rabbi Yehuda, the loyasi oil arayim about the oil keva. His reason is because you're not going to have an oil keva, which is quite interesting because now we're calling a sukkah kavua, right? But that's Rabbi Yehuda Lishitasai, who holds that a sukkah is supposed to be kavua. But we're not going to say that a temporary tent is going to be mevatel, a permanent. So loishna mita v'loishna kila, and it makes no difference whether it's a bed you're sleeping under or whether it's a canopy you're sleeping under. That'll make a difference. A temporary building inside a sukkah is not going to be mevatel the sukkah.
Can I say that a bed is keva in a sukkah because I'm not allowed to sleep even shinas harai chutz l'sukkah? So the bed is, I need the bed in the sukkah the whole yom tov. I don't need a table in the sukkah whole yom tov, but I need a bed a whole yom tov. Can you say such a thing? I just was thinking of.
That really depends on your age of how often you sleep during the day. The younger generation only sleeps a couple of hours.
Why do you not need
But
a
doesn't
table in the
matter.
sukkah? Why do you not need a table in the sukkah? Let's go backwards.
Because there's no chiyuv to eat in there.
There's no chiyuv.
It's only
to
when
eat,
you're
but there's
eating
a
that you
chiyuv
have to do it,
sleep.
but you don't have to eat.
I can't do a shinas harai chutz l'sukkah. So anytime I'm going to fall asleep, I have to go to sleep in the sukkah. Even if I'm having l'chaim in the house like parrots, I got to make it into the sukkah to fall asleep.
Mamish a tircha.
Baron, it's a good thing you don't live on the Lower East Side.
Well, I'm saying you're trying to say that since you can't sleep outside the sukkah temporarily.
Yeah.
So
does that make that kli that I sleep with, the bed, does that make it automatically keva? That's all. I don't know if I'm right. I'm not saying it does. I'm just wondering, can you say such a thing?
I hear. I don't know if that's gonna make it kavua. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that would that make it kavua, because you automatic. There has to be a din in the bed itself. No. Would you say, like, you have the many sleep with blow up mattresses? Can you call that? Are you calling that kavua because you're sleeping in the sukkah? I don't know. I hear. Not sure. Okay. Zok the Mishna. Yeah. Hidla le'as gefen. So let's say you spread out the grapevine, vesa dlas, or a gourd vine, vesa, what do you call it, kisos. That's also stama vine, sika chagaba, psula, and then you put schach on top of it. Then it's puzzle, right? Why? Because anything attached to the ground, you're not allowed to. Is puzzle for schach. Right, but let's say there's a lot more schach, kosher schach, right? Aisha cuts it on, or you cut it off, then it's going to be kosher, which we'll see exactly how you're supposed to cut it off. So again, if you put on the kosher, the puzzle schach, and you mix it together with kosher schach, so if there's not a majority of kosher schach, your sukkah is going to be puzzle, unless you cut off the schach, you cut off the vines. This is the rule. Kosher makabel tuma ve'en gidulim min haaretz. Anything that's not makabel tuma and doesn't go from the ground, aim mesachim ba, you're not mesachim. Chol davar she'einu makabel tuma, and if it's not makabel tuma, gidulim min haaretz, but it does grow from the ground, mesachim ba. So basically, you have two requirements for schach. It has to grow from the ground, and it can't be makabel tuma. Right? The big issue is going to be plastic. Where exactly do you put plastic? Plastic comes from oil. Oil is really from the ground, or maybe it's not from the ground. And the question is it makabel tuma? Is it not makabel tuma? So amongst the other issues, that's one of them. Okay, so Zok the Gemara. Yosef Rav Yosef kamed Rav Huna. Rav Yosef sitting in front of Rav Huna. Rav Yosef kamar, I should cut it on kshera. Or if you cut it off, right? If you take the vines, you put it over the schach, and then you cut it, it's kosher. Right, one of the more famous halachas everybody knows, right? You got to shake it, right? Because it's going to be tasav alayman also. Meaning, if you put the schach up there and it's puzzle, you only make it kosher by shaking it, then that's no good, right? Because so by shaking it, you're making it as if it's a new schach. So Amar later, Hashmuel Amra, Shmuel said this then. So Adrinu Yosef la pay Rabbi Yosef turned his face away. He said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I could see we lost you.
He turned away because lost me.
Yeah, I could see we lost you. You were up to Daf Test Amud Beis.
Hold on.
I was gonna say he just finished the daf.
Enter your meeting ID.
I was gonna say I last remembered Brachas Daf Gimel.
He just finished. We're done.
You are in. There are more than 20 participants.
You hear me?
All right, you got to mute the other one.
Hold on, I'm muted. I am muted. I gotta look. I gotta turn the volume down.
I'm trying to mute him.
Hold on. I am muted.
Hold on.
What's going on?
There you go. Now you're good.
Am I back on the video or I'm not?
No, the video's still frozen.
Oh, it's frozen. You're right.
So strange because I could see everybody moving and talking. Weird.
You're just lucky that way.
I guess so. We were doing so well. I guess the island stopped eating and went onto the internet, so they're using up the bandwidth. Is anything on Yeshiva World now of interest that everybody could be watching?
You have to scroll down for 25 minutes to get past all those people that have been so excited about Tisha B'Av and prepping for the last, 6 months.
Very good parents. That's great.
My thumb is killing me from scrolling down.
Okay, so let's go back to the Gemara. I apologize. So Yosef Kamed Rav Huna. Rav Yosef was sitting in front of Rav Huna. But Yosef and he was sitting and he said, I should cut it on kshera. If you cut down the schach, then it's kosher. You have to shake it. Why? Because otherwise it's tasev because you have to make the sukkah. You have to make the sukkah, and it has to be made by you. If you put the puzzle schach on there like a vine, you throw it over the right. You throw it over the sukkah, and it's that's puzzle. And then you decide to cut it when it's still on the sukkah. You have to do something to the schach, so you shake it. Rav Huna Hashmuel Amra. Rav Huna says Shmuel said this. Right now he had said it. Rav Yosef had said it in the name of Rav. Rav Huna said Hashmuel Amra. So Adrinu Rav Yosef Lapei. So Rav Yosef turned away because he was upset. What do you mean Shmuel said? If Amalei Atu Mika Minalach Deloy Amra Shmuel, did I say that Shmuel didn't say it? Amra Rav Amra Shmuel. Rav said it and Shmuel said it. Okay, so Amalei Rav, I don't understand exactly what this exchange is. Fine. So Amalei Rav Huna, so Rav Huna said to him, this is what I'm telling you. The Shmuel Amr Veloy Rav. Shmuel said it and Rav did not say it. The Rav Achshure Masha. Rav would say that this sukkah is kosher even without shaking it. How do you know? Kihoda Rav Amram Chasida, because Rav Amram Chasida, now we're going to compare it again, like we did a couple of lot ago. We compare sukkah to tzitzis. Rama what? Rama Felta Leparzuma de Inchi Bese. He put cheles on his wife's beged. Now let's hold off on this whole the women with tzitzis thing for a minute, right? But Rama Felta Leparzuma de Inchi Bese. He put cheles on his wife's clothing. Yeah. Yeah. Kolon v'loy pasak roshi chutin shalahen. Right, but what happened is that he hung them on, and then he didn't cut them. Yeah. So what does that mean? Meaning basically, the way we do it with the tzitzis is you take 4 strings, right? You put it inside the hole, and then you tie the knot. Right. What they used to do back then was they would take 1 string and fold it over 4 times. Then stick it in, right? And then they would cut the strings from the other. So that would be a case of tasav lemon also. Yeah. So Rama Tchilta leparzuma de inchi besa. He would put the tcheles on the clothing of the people of his house, right? Talon, and he hung them and he didn't cut off the strings. Also, like made the Rav Bar Ashi, Amalei, Hachi Amarav, Mafsakon ve'Henkshen. Just cut them off, and then they're going to be kosher. Alma. So we see, you see that when you cut the string, that's what makes it into a kosher tzitzis. So too here, when you put the puzzle schach over the sukkah, right, and then you cut it, the cutting makes it kosher, and therefore it's not Rav and Shmuel that say this, that say that you have to shake it. Because why do you have to shake it for? Again, he's saying that when you put the tzitzis, one string, and you fold it over 4 times through the tzitzis, and then you cut it to make it look like 8 strings. So he's saying that that's kosher, because when does it become kosher, the tzitzis? When you cut the ends of the strings. Okay, so sukkah is the same thing. I put the puzzle schach, the vine, over the sukkah, right? And then I cut the vine. That's going to make it kosher. So that's it. If that's the case, you wouldn't have to shake it. The Gemara says, does Shmuel hold that we don't say that the cutting is what makes the sukkah? Because we just got finished saying that Rav says that when you cut it, it makes it kosher. That means Shmuel holds even the cutting doesn't make it kosher. How could that be? If you put on tzitzis into 2 corners at one time, meaning you basically put it through, there's 4 corners, right? You stuck the tzitzis through 2 corners, and then you decided to cut it, which I have no idea why somebody would want to do this, but either way, it's going to be kosher.
I don't understand what's so hard to understand. The minute you cut it, it's no longer meshubit to the karka, which we said that's one of the requirements, so that automatically makes it kosher.
Right, but the problem was that when the schach went over the sukkah, and then you cut it, when it went on top of the sukkah, it was puzzle.
Yeah, but you did that before Yom Tov. You're not sitting in it then.
No, but you still never put kosher schach onto the sukkah. The only thing that made it kosher is when you cut it. So that's what we're saying now. Rav and Shmuel are having this machlokes where the cutting makes kosher sukkah, right? Shmuel was saying, no, you got to shake the schach to make it kosher. Rav is saying not. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, yeah, so that's what we're trying to compare it to the tzitzis, right? So now the Gemara is saying that Shmuel also is not going to say that cutting is the asiyah of Atani Shmuel, B'Shem Nochiyah. But I don't know why a person again would do this. You take the tzitzis and you stick it through one hole and then across the garment to the other hole. And then you cut the Rashi Chutzin and then it's kosher. My love, does it not mean shekosher v'achakach paisik? Doesn't it mean that first he ties the tzitzis on there and then he cuts it, and therefore Shmuel is saying that it's okay? So we said no, no, he cuts it and then he makes it tied. Then he ties it, because obviously it's not kosher till it's tied. So since he cut it before he tied it, then it's kosher. So Gemara says, so if you put it in and then you cut it and then you tie it, what's the chiddush? Of course it's kosher. Everybody holds it's kosher, right? You cut the tzitzis before you tie the knot. No, so now the same Gemara says you might have thought. You need it to be a corner when you're making it in psil. Psil means kind of psil tchelis, right? That when you're putting it into a corner, right, it needs to be one corner at a time, not 2. The lekin, you don't have that kamash mullah, that you do have it. So then they want to ask a similar kasha, meisvei, so they ask the kasha, tolan v'loy pasak rashi chutzin shelen, if you hung it and you didn't cut off the rashi chutzin, it's puzzle. My la psulin la'olam doesn't mean that it's puzzle la'olam. It's a yufta to Rav, it's a tifta, it's a kasha on Rav, because Rav would hold once you cut it, it's going to be kosher. Amalach Rav, my psulin achi yivsako. No, puzzle doesn't mean it's puzzle forever. Puzzle means it's puzzle until you cut it off. Right? And then Shmuel Amar psulin la'olam, it's puzzle la'olam. V'chein Amar Levi, psulin la'olam, it's puzzle forever. V'chein Amar Rav Nasno, Amar Shmuel, psulin la'olam, it's puzzle forever. Why? Because it's possible l'olam asi. I did this thing. Right? And he said it's puzzle la'olam. So you see that according to Shmuel, it's puzzle la'olam. According to everybody else, it's kosher. According to Rav, it's kosher. As long as you cut it. Once you cut it, it becomes kosher. Yeah. Okay, I guess it's late, so we'll continue this. We'll continue tomorrow. Tomorrow's a relatively short top, so we'll hopefully catch it up by tomorrow.
Oh,
Okay, shkoyach everybody for tuning in.
Shkoyach.
It's a big.
Thank you.
Next year, Be'ez Hashem, we shouldn't be able to have daf on Tisha B'Av because it'll be Yom Tif on Zoom, or we should all be
Amen.
together.
Amen.
We should have it.
Amen.
Yeah. All right. Fine. Good enough. Yes, sir.
I get why a person would want to do two corners at a time. There's less threading that way.
Yeah, but then how do you cut it off and have on?
What do you mean? He puts a long string in two corners and then he cuts it in the middle. You put the two corners together. You do one threading motion through both corners. Then you separate the corners and cut the middle.
Yeah, and how do you knot it?
Well, before you cut it? That Avamina?
Yeah.
Well, you still have the two ends that are outside the corners, not between them. So you can knot it like that.
Okay, man. I don't know. I don't have the head to figure it out.
Right here. I just thought he made it easier. He threads it twice instead of 4 times.
Yeah, but okay. So.
All right.
Is that the way it's really going to work? Okay.
Yeah, it could. It could work that way.
I hear you. All right, I'm not sure. Did you eat already?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I didn't.
You didn't eat yet?
Sure, I ate, but that don't mean I'm not going back for more.
Let's see, I'll give you mentioned about Tisha B'Av turning into a Yom Tov. That's what I was writing about before.
Oh yeah. Why don't you send it to me? Maybe I don't know if.
No, because I didn't write it very neatly at all. I don't know if it's even legible. I wrote it. I was laying on the couch writing it. Sama kasha. I had a kasha. How is it possible that Tisha B'Av could become a Yom Tov? All of a sudden, the 2 churbanos and millions upon millions of dead Yidden that mean nothing becomes a Yom Tov? How is it shaykh?
Look at this Shiloh that just came in. His son fainted by Moedim. He fainted by Moedim.
Wow. So what's the Shiloh?
Should he repeat Shemona Esrei? That's good Shiloh, no?
Wow. I thought it would be something some stupid Shiloh was eating. He fainted by Moedim. Should you repeat Shemona Esrei? The Chayra only for Moedim, no?
What? Love you. Night.
It's Yaakov.
Yeah.
He has to do more than from just continue from Moedim?
He probably had a hefsek of who knows how long.
Yeah, but it's not, I mean, I hear, so it's Hasa Chadas either way. It depends when the Shaila comes in. Is the Shaila coming in as soon as he's ready to daven? Or wait, whoa, the Shaila came in now?
Just now, yeah. I don't know what time zone they're in.
By Ma'ariv or by Mincha?
I don't know. He just said fainted by Moedim.
Oh yeah, this is Shiloh Tashlumin or repeating Shemona Esrei.
What?
Something's wrong here. If he fainted by
What?
Myriv, he should have eaten already. He probably should have broken his thymus.
Could be.
If he fainted by Mincha, then it's a new Shiloh already. Does he have to have Tashlumin of Mincha?
I don't know. I just assumed Myriv.
Yeah. I hear. What do you say? He has to repeat it? Or you go to Kulik for Myriv?
No, I think you have to repeat it.
Yeah.
I think no. Isn't that what?
I mean, it's questionable. If he's talking Myriv and he sent the Shiloh right now, as soon as he fainted, then it might not be a hefsek. It might not be a hesek hadas. He fainted. As soon as he woke up, he sent the Shiloh. Is that a hesek hadas?
What do you mean? So he had Hesed, so therefore?
Say if it's not a hesek hadas, maybe he could just continue from Moedim. If as soon as he woke up, he's sending the Shiloh,
Right.
or even before he woke up, and let him finish. Just let him finish. There's no hesek hadas if he fainted. He has no das for anything else, at least.
He's not gonna. If you think this guy, it's probably a half hour later.
I have no idea. Someone is sending a Shiloh around Myriv time about fainting instead of worrying about his kid. I don't know.
Hour later.
I don't know where the guy is. He could be in Chicago for all I know.
Could be, but then he has to tell me that.
I hear. Yeah, Mustami is there. I don't know. Yeah.
Did any books come from the library yet?
Wow, Mikam Yisrael. It's a beautiful Shiloh. I love it. He just fasted all Tisha B'Av. He had a Myriv. He didn't make Havdalah yet. He probably didn't eat yet. Some fainted after a Shemona Esrei. Beautiful.
All right. Anyway.
Yeah. This is how what's it called? Mashiach's born on Tisha B'Av, right? This is the vote. When you nutzais Tisha B'Av the right way. Anyway, you heard my kasha?
Yes, I hear the kasha.
And I was thinking about it a lot, half the morning, part of the afternoon. The only thing I could possibly come up with is if we Lamaisa have no musig of the Eibishter's workings, but for all we know, it could be that the Churbanos and all the tragedies of Klal Yisrael since then are all a part of building the third Beis HaMikdash, building the Beis HaMikdash of Lasid Lavai. In which case, once we see the emes, and the true emes, the fullest extent, is that all the deaths, all the suffering, all the tragedies of Klal Yisrael, all of those are what built the third Beis HaMikdash. They're what brought Mashiach. That's the Gresi Yom Tov.
I hear. Interesting.
Otherwise, if you don't say that, then there has to be still Avelis. I connected it a shtickle to, we say in the Seder, by Seder night, Koil Yemei Chayecha, Yemei Chayecha, El Mazeh, Koil Yemei Chayecha, L'havi L'meisi Mashiach. That after Yemei Mashiach, the Geula from Mitzrayim will still, there's still a chiyuv to make a zecher to it. So it was kind of tying them in together. The Geula from Mitzrayim, the Geula Lasid Lavai would be impossible without the Geula from Mitzrayim. Mamela, the Geula of Mitzrayim is a part of the Geula Lasid Lavai. And similarly, in the same kind of way, the Churban is part of the Geula. That's Kinafalti Kamti. Can't have kamti without nafalti.
Yeah.
My Rosh Hashiva gave a shmooze, like before Rosh Chodesh. Shabbos Mevarkim gives a shmooze. They posted it. He said, you never finish off a sefer, a Mishna, or something with bad news. You always finish it off with something good. He says, how come Eicha finishes, Kiyam Oismas Tanu, Ketzavta Leinu Ad Ma'oid?
That's why you do Hashivenu, right?
Yeah, but that's not even laned. Why didn't Yirmiyahu do it fakert?
No.
So Kiyam Oismas Tanu, then finish Hashivenu.
Right.
So his basic answer was that there's a medrash at the end of Eicha. I thought it was Meiridik that Rish Lakish is the one who says it. So Shimon ben Lakish says, he gives a mashal, but the basic vart is that there's two ways for a king to reprimand his eved who does wrong. Either he could vafim avek and fire him and say, I don't want to see you ever again, or he can yell at him for 3 hours. Which one's the better one? The yelling. So that's what the last pasuk of Eicha is. Kiyam oismas tanu. And we were disgusting to you. We disgusted you. But katsafta aleinu ad ma'od, you were angry with us and you yelled at us and you gave us patch. That's the greatest love we can get from the Rabbeinu Shalom. That even though we deserved tossing, we deserved how many times the Eibishter wanted to destroy Klal Yisrael in the Torah, and Moshe Rabbeinu said no. This is the same thing. You wanted to destroy us. We deserve to be completely gone. But katsafta aleinu ad ma'od, you yelled at us. That shows the love of the Father. That's the end of Eicha.
Very good. Very good. I like that.
And
Who said
I
it?
wanted to add to that. That's a medrash at the end of Eicha.
Right.
Rish Lakish. I thought that the best thing that it could be was because it's from Rish Lakish, who every cheder yingel knows is the epitome of kinafalti kamti. He was a robber turned into the biggest Amayra. He's the one who says, we can all do it. You can get there. Shem loves us. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very good.
Yeah.
I hear you. All right. Fine.
Yeah. All right. Yashikayach.
Shkoyach to you. A good enough. Feel good.
A good enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.